Hello, my name is Andries Knevel. I'm a journalist and a theologian with special focus on science and religion. The main questions are, can a Christian be a scientist? Or can a scientist be a Christian? Is there a conflict between science and religion? Or can you combine those two? My guest today at the Utrecht University is Professor Ngene. He's professor in chemistry. Professor Ngene, have you always been a Christian?
For the most part of my life, but not always. I wasn't born in a Christian family.
But not always. Can you explain that?
Well, I was born into a family that practiced the African traditional religion. And so my dad was not a believer, and my mom as well. But then my aunt took me to church when I was small, and that's how I became a Christian.
Yeah. In what country was that?
Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Yes.
And now you are in the Netherlands. How is that possible?
Well, it's possible to go any part of the world you want to. Yeah. So I finished my undergraduate study in Nigeria, and then I went to France and Singapore to do my master's. And then after that, I came to the Netherlands to do my PhD. And then I fell in love with the country, and I've been there since then.
Yeah. And during the time in those other countries, you were a Christian as well in those times?
Yes, I was.
When you became a student or when you traveled to the Western world?
Yeah, I was a Christian already from Nigeria when I was in high school and then university. And when I traveled to France, first of all, then that was the time I experienced a big dip, in my faith. Yeah.
Can you explain that?
It has to do with exposure and study of science. So when I started doing my master's in France and in Singapore, then I came across many other, religious beliefs apart from Christianity. So in Nigeria, we're used to Christianity, African traditional religion, and Islam, and then coming to experience other belief, that I found them interesting, that, okay, they're all searching for the truth. Then I started questioning myself that what is then the truth? So everybody seems to have their own, version of the truth. And that was the time I took a pause on my faith to think about, okay, so what is going on here? Yes.
But you became, again, a Christian.
Yes, I became again a Christian.
Yeah. And why not one of those other religions? What was it that you became again a Christian?
Well,
you returned.
Yeah,
to Christendom again.
Yes, I took a pause to reflect over life, and also I stopped going to church for some time, just like, okay, well, what is this all about? But even when I stopped going to church, then I experienced a lot of stress in my life. It was the most confusing time of my life, because I felt like, okay, I don't get it. If there's a truth, I want to understand the truth. Then I stopped everything for a time, and but I was still searching for truth, reading all kind of books, trying to look at different books, and I read about a bit about the Quran. I read about other spiritual books. At a point, then because of the emptiness I felt, then I felt that, a big part of my life was missing. And I came to think about the fact that even growing up as a child in Nigeria, in Africa, that I cannot doubt the existence of God, because I've seen, supernatural things happen, and so I cannot doubt that there is something beyond the physical. But so my question about being atheist disappeared, but it's more about the confusion. What is the truth? And as I tried to search, after a while, I started to realize that most of the things written in the Bible really seeing it from not just the fact that these things happened, but what does it mean to me as a person? And then I experienced what I can call like encounter with God, where I began to see that, okay, it's not about what I don't know, but it's about what is the effect of what I know in my life. And then I realized that it's about relationship with God, and Christianity is the only religion where, God, where Jesus Christ came in flesh, not just to hand some kind of doctrine to us, but to teach us human beings how to live life. And in doing so, he also sacrificed his life to us, just showing us how much God cares for us. And for me, there's nothing else that could beat this. So, and not just that there's nothing else that could beat that, but it's about the impact in my life as a person. And since then, I have no reason to say no to God, despite some doubts that you still have, some questions, not doubt, but some questions, yes.
So about science, what are you doing here at this University of Utrecht?
My expertise is in the area of materials. So I develop new materials that can be used for environmental and energy sustainability. One of the most challenges we have in our time is global warming, the rise in the CO2 level in the atmosphere, causing global warming. And my research is focused on how to find solution to this. And by finding solution to this, I mean developing new materials that we can use to reliably and efficiently store renewable energy. The problem with renewable energy like solar and wind that we are all trying to use in abundance is the fact that they are intermittent. So the sun doesn't shine all the time, and the wind also is not available all the time. So one of the problems is how do we store this intermittent energy from these sources so we can use them when we need them. And one of the ways to do that is, for example, storing them in good battery, what we call high density batteries. So batteries that are able to store large amount of energy so that you can use them in combination with solar panel, PV cells at home to have a almost independent power supply. Another way of doing that is to use the excess energy or the energy from the sun to actually split water. We have water is abundant everywhere, so you can make hydrogen from it. And this hydrogen you can use as fuel. You can use as fuel to drive a car, for instance, but also to do other things. So basically, this is what my research is all about, and also even trying to use the CO2 itself, the carbon dioxide, which is a problem, to see how we can convert it into, useful chemicals and fuels. You can react the CO2 with hydrogen, and then you can make other fuels. So which means we can mine the CO2 from the atmosphere to really reduce its concentration from the atmosphere by doing this. And then we do what we call closing the carbon cycle. So you can start with CO2, and you can convert it into something else, use it, and then convert it into something else. And so this is the nutshell of my research.
Many people in science say that there is a conflict between science and religion. Do you understand?
I don't see the conflict. I see it more like a person, so we are both spiritual and physical beings. So we have our spiritual aspect and we have our physical aspect. So I see science as limited to the physical. We want to understand, based on our brain capacity, how the world works. So that is science. And there is nothing wrong about it. Even in the Bible, there are places that in the Bible where it's stated that, it is, the desire of the king to hide secret And he finds pleasure when his people can discover the secret. So for me, science is a way of figuring out the physical realm of life. But life is more than the physical. And with my faith, I connect to the spiritual. And these two combination is wonderful because you understand the limitation of the physical via your spiritual understanding. So I don't see any difficulty in combining this, rather advantage.
But in the physical world you can prove things, and in the spiritual world you can't.
Yes, because even the things that we prove in the physical is based on inspiration and knowledge. And where is the knowledge coming from? Right? Where is the knowledge coming from? So the fact that I understand how things were made does not mean that I understand the maker. So for me, the spiritual aspect is what explains the physical.
Many people in science say that there is a conflict between science and religion. Do you understand?
I think that there are many scientists who are believers, and not only Christians, but other faiths. And there are also some non-scientists who don't have faith. So that's how I see it. However, I think the notion that science is in conflict with religion or faith, I call it faith. I don't like religion because religion is just man's way of trying to be nice and please the gods. But real faith in God don't have any problem with the science, because what I see that has happened over the years is that we scientists don't want to have a cap. We don't want to keep a cap on our ability to explore. And so most people think that once you accept that there is a God, then you don't need to figure out things. But that's not true. So as far as we are in this universe, what the Bible said, that God has given us this universe to take care of it. So the Bible made me to understand that God has given us talents, different gifts, to be able to take care of the universe has given unto us. So the talents, my ability to figure out things, I believe come from God. And to figure out things so that I can take proper care of my body and also the universe, the physical world that God has given unto me. And I don't see any conflict between that.
Do you have a proof or evidence that there is purpose in life?
We look for evidence.
Yeah.
What is the evidence more than your personal life? What is the evidence more? And I think that is a problem about faith and religion. I think once you experience the peace of God and the power of God, you cannot doubt anymore. But it's a personal experience. And this is how spiritual law is. So it's a personal experience. Mm-hmm. So once you experience that, you cannot doubt anymore, because the evidence you have from your personal life is more than any other thing. And that's how it is explained.
But I think that you believe that God is acting in this world, in the visible world and in the spiritual world, and there are natural laws. How is God acting in those laws?
You don't have to look for evidence of God, because the whole creation, the world itself, and you as a human being, think about yourself. Think about how complex we are. Think about what we can do as people. That's already enough to tell us there is something beyond us. And we can make all kinds of things today, human being. We have the power to create, we can make robots, we can do all kinds of things, right? And if we can do those things, then why is it, like some people put it, why do you think it's foolish if I believe there is a supreme being that can do more than I can do and can even create me, right? So that's the way I see it. So the evidence is in looking at myself. How wonderful, you know, and how skillful the things that we can do. I think that's one of the evidence. And then looking inwards, and what I understand with spiritual laws is that if you don't seek, you will not find. Just like natural knowledge. If I'm not interested in science and trying to figure things out, I will not. If some people spend the amount of time they spend in trying to understand the physical laws, even a quarter of it in understanding spiritual laws, they will come to understand. And that's the way I see it.
You will find it?
Yeah, you'll find it. Because if you seek, you'll find. If you don't seek, you don't find. But sometimes, even when you don't seek, God seeks for us. And people have experienced that who don't even care, and sometimes God interrupts and say, this is who I am. And it has happened to millions of people. Yes.